Going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fight Out podcast. And for the UK-based Fight Out, we all know what I mean when you say you wake up to madness every now and then. Today was definitely one of them days you woke up. Dana White had basically announced every fight under the sun, apart from Aspinall Jones. But I'm still happy with it. I'm definitely still happy with it. Um, I mean, obviously there's a lot to digest with what got announced, but the first fight that I've seen get announced was actually the Volk fight, Volkanovski versus Lopez, and I seen that it was for the featherweight title. So I put two and two together about earlier. I seen it as an announcement on Twitter, and then basically thought that was going to be like the only news. Went downstairs, let the dog in the back garden, got me coffee, and then I seen the rest of it. Seen the rest of that Miami card, which I'll make a separate video about in its entirety. But wow, what an absolute card. Valtteri Lopez is a very interesting one. Obviously, earlier, I can't see him vacating and not getting a title shot or a BMF title shot, to be honest with you. Um, I don't know what that looks like in terms of like a max rematch at 55 or whatever, but I can't see Ilya moving up without some form of title being attached to it instantly. So just shelving that for a minute and shelving a lot of the other announcements. Obviously, the big one for us, as scouters and UK MMA fans, love him or hate him. Paddy the Baddy has got his big shot against Michael Chandler. I was speaking to my mate the other day about this, about like what's next for Paddy and stuff like that. And I was saying, well, they've obviously teed him up a good next fight because he weren't fighting in London and he's been teasing this Miami card. I'll be honest, I was hoping he was going to be a co-main event. I didn't know if he was going to be or not. I didn't know if the UFC was going to put him in that people's main event slot, the third from the end. So to me, like the one before the co-main. Um, there was a few people getting thrown about, but from what I've seen online, water was thrown on the Paddy v Chandler fight. So to be honest, I weren't thinking it was Paddy and Chandler. I didn't know who it was. I was thinking maybe Moicano, coming off the loss to Islam, but he took no damage. He got choked out and stuff like that. I was kind of thinking it was going to go down that route. When I'm seeing this Chandler fight, I think it's such a good fight for both of them. Obviously, it's a better fight for Paddy than it is for Chandler. Does Paddy get Chandler closer to the title again? No, I don't think he does. Does Chandler get Paddy closer to the title? Absolutely, he does. You could argue that if he does well against Michael Chandler and gets an impressive win, Paddy could have potentially a title shot next. There's a little weird picture, isn't there? Lightweight, I feel, with um, obviously now Ilya adds to it as well, and Ilya and Paddy will get to that in a set. But the picture at lightweight is weird because you've got Gaethje, you've got Poirier, you've got Charles, now you've also got Holloway as well, who's kind of a newcomer. But those were the three of all four for the title and lost. Obviously, two of them have fought against the current champ Islam. Gaethje has fought against the previous champ Khabib, but Gaethje has just been absolutely pieced up by Max Holloway. So they're kind of like the old guard. Poirier's got one more he said in the UFC for the UFC Louisiana, whenever that is. Charles feels like the one out of those who could fight for the title again with a decent win. Gaethje, I mean, it's tough to say with his name, but does Gaethje need two more? Does he need a nice win in his next one against Booker and then one more? Does Dan Booker get Gaethje a title shot? I don't know. Now with Paddy, he's never fought for the title. Like I said before, love him or hate him. There's a lot of hype behind him. He does drag a crowd. He does attract numbers. What are those numbers? We don't know because he's never held a pay-per-view on his own. And I'm not saying put him a pay-per-view headline on International Fight Week or anything like that. But let's be honest, if he comes through this co-main looking good, the next thing for him is a main event slot. And I think a title shot would be perfect. Now, but I'm smiling because I'm thinking about how it can play out. Where imagine Taporia comes to lightweight and beats Islam. Now, Taporia and Paddy have had an extensive back and forth, really extensive, where Nowhere near as dark as Conor Khabib, I'm not saying that. But there's definitely some parts to it where, like, I think if Topuria see Paddy in the street, he's going to go for him kind of thing. I don't think Paddy feels the same way about Ilya. I think, to be honest, probably Paddy was just doing what he does and kind of taking the mickey out of people. And Ilya, feels like he took it a step too far. Apologies if this video appearing quite glitchy, by the way. I'm just trying to mess about the settings here. But, yeah, Paddy and Ilya have got that background. And with Ilya as the champ, let's forget about the immediate rematch for Islam. Let's just shelve that a sec. Imagine Paddy comes through this Chandler fight and looks good, finishes him early, knocks him out, submits him, whatever. Ilya goes up, he beats Islam. You're telling me that the UFC wouldn't look to make Paddy versus Ilya with their background, with their history, with their stories, with their current hype? You're crazy if you're saying no, to be honest. Whether you think Ilya steamrolls him, whether you think Paddy should be in there or not, whether you think Paddy will win, you cannot argue against that fight. Selling it for the UFC, it sold itself. And that's why when I seen the news today, the first thing I thought was, all in all of it combined, Paddy could be one way away now from the title shot. Even if it's against Islam, a good win against Chandler puts Paddy in that title picture. Maybe it gives him let's say Gaethje wins against Hooker. Like I said, I don't think that gets Gaethje a title shot. But it's the other side. If Hooker wins against Gaethje, very well could do, a rematch with Hooker against Islam, or if they do make the Topuria fight, then a fresh one. I think Paddy is in that similar mould, but even at least, you're talking Paddy versus a Gaethje, Paddy versus maybe a Hooker, maybe a Charles, something like that. And he's, then he is out of title shot 100%. In my opinion, he's 2 fights away from the title shot max. He's potentially won with what he can do to Michael Chandler. Now, Michael Chandler, mate, is no easy task at all. Not an easy task. Now, he didn't look great against Charles. Like, we can all admit that. But that is the first time that Chandler's come off a layoff of that length in his career. Let's be honest, probably the only time. He's not going to sit out for another 2 years for anyone else, maybe unless Conor pops back up and says he'll fight him. But it didn't feel like a Michael Chandler fight. Obviously, he riled to the crowd, with the slams and stuff at the end. But as a fighter, as an athlete, Michael Chandler's a real handful. And he's been on this stage a lot longer than Paddy. He's been in bigger fights than Paddy. He's been under brighter lights than Paddy. Paddy is definitely on the way to do it. And obviously, me more, I'd love him to do it more than anyone, but you can't look at that fight and be like, oh, it's a gimme either way. I've seen a lot of people online saying, oh, Chandler by death, Paddy by submission. I'll be honest, I don't think you can be that sure. Like, I know I'm sitting on the fence there, but I don't know. You can look at that fight right now at this stage, without seeing them fight week, without trying to get a feel for them and say like, oh yeah, this is the way it's going to go. I mean, people might just be doing that for a little bit of a comment online, trying to get a little bit of engagement or whatever, but I don't know, you can call it either way. It's very exciting over Paddy, and it just adds to an absolutely stacked card and a very interesting lightweight picture. Now, people might disagree with me completely, and let me know in the comments if you do, about the Paddy shouts, being 1 or 2 away from the title shot. But outside that, now that I'm looking at it, outside of Chandler, I don't think he would have got a Charles fight, or obviously Gaethje's matched up, but I couldn't see him getting a Gaethje fight. I think Chandler was the best fight that Paddy could have got in terms of that lightweight rank, and that he could have realistically got at this stage. I mean, don't think there's anyone better. I'm not saying that matchup wide. I'm not saying that stylistically. I'm just saying as a progression for Paddy, I can't see anyone better that he could have got.